What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I hope everyone's been having a good week, good month. We've seen you guys a little while ago with our last webinar on LinkedIn and YouTube. We're back for another one. We're just going to talk about some AI news, some recent tech updates that's been going on in the media, just kind of our life updates and new AI things that we see that are kind of interesting. We wanted to touch upon a little bit of AI tips and tricks that businesses can use, compare, keep in with some of our competitors, just kind of talk about what's been going on, what's kind of in the future for us, what's on the horizon, and yeah, just catch up and check in, see how everything's going, and maybe provide a little bit of insight for you guys and leave you with some good takeaways. So, hey Nona, how you doing?
Doing good. Just got back from that vacation. Oh, it's been lovely. Yeah, how you been though that since we last talked?
I've been good. I've been good. We've got Thanksgiving coming up next week. Nana just came back from a big trip. You were London, Dubai, and Egypt, right?
It was I think it was like just this multi-country tour. I was like, I need to get I think it was less than 2 weeks. I need to get it in between all the work. And even though I was working the whole time, it's nice.
Yeah, yeah, no, that does sound awesome. I guess just to start it off, just while we're on that topic, is there anything that you think are good tips for people who are multitasking, traveling, vacation, and work? Any gadgets maybe that you brought along with you that helped out, like tech especially? I
I'd say make sure that you download some kind of either if your phone allows physical SIMs, you can buy SIM cards, you can buy them in the countries, often in the airports. If it does not, like an iPhone, you should get an eSIM app like I'm probably saying this wrong, Airlo or something like that. And make sure to purchase them beforehand, before you go into the countries, because I made the mistake of not deciding trying to purchase it when I got to Dubai, but they wouldn't let me. Luckily, I know how to use VPNs, so yeah.
okay. So it's once you're already there, sometimes there's some issues with it as well. To buy it, I guess. They don't.
Yeah. Yeah, they won't let you purchase it when you're within the region. I turned on the VPN with the airport Wi-Fi and it worked, but otherwise, oh, nearly a nightmare experience.
Yeah, yeah. Because I was thinking about, I didn't even think of this, the virtual Sims. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good call. Definitely, like I just saw like Anchor has like these battery packs that's like kind of like the iPhone one that sticks onto with the magnet. But it was like I saw that I think it was like 20 or $30 on Amazon right now, which is like pretty good considering the Apple ones are like 100. Um, but yeah, definitely that was just something I was wondering because sometimes I see people travel for work and they have like two phones, battery pack charger, like all this gear. And then some people I know travel like without just one laptop charger and that's all they need, like very light.
Guess it all depends on where you know or you think you're going to be. If the trip is already pre-planned, you're going to be in hotels, on cruises most of the time, you're going to be with guides, then pretty much you might not even need to bring a portable charger. But if you're going on, I'd say if you're going on some kind of big excursion, couple of hours, you're not quite sure, definitely try to bring at least a small one. But yeah, it's all dependent.
Yeah, everyone has their own ways of doing things. I that losing a charger though, right before a trip or like going on a trip and forgetting a charger, even though they're like available everywhere for some reason, I find it so annoying, like such a pain having to find a charger in another country. It's usually pretty easy, but like it's such a simple thing that when I forget it, it feels so disappointing.
It's like we always want to make sure we leave with everything, but we always forget something and then gotta go buy it from the airport where it's double, triple the price.
Yeah, and it's like the fact that I have so many at home that like, having to go buy like a fifth charger just to use on vacation, and then I come home and I have this collection of chargers that I'm never going to use. That's a little disappointing. But hey,
Just this pile of somewhat okay chargers, but aren't the best and don't have the amount that we might desire. Just the whole stack of them.
and they never work the same as like
Yeah,
the
it
Apple ones, you know? It just doesn't feel the same. It never does.
does.
Even like the nicer ones. But yeah, just into our first kind of piece of tech and AI news, definitely artificial intelligence focused, but basically fewer mice are now being required for studies because essentially an artificial intelligence model can analyze the test results or even as the test is going on. And you don't need to do the test as many times now, essentially, because the AI can pick up on things and pick up on patterns that the mice are doing it slash might even do just because it picks up on some tendencies they're doing now. It can kind of predict what they might do if the test was run a little bit differently, kind of just taking out that whole, extra testing process. So this is really good if you care about if people who are into, environmental friendly and like, you know, making a safer scientific process for animals, this is definitely a step in the right direction because I think even in Boston there were some protests um, at Harvard University about testing with animals and stuff like that, and it's definitely a big issue for people. So this is a great step.
Looks absolutely amazing, actually. Just if you can already noticeably reduce the amount of subjects needed for the test, like imagine like the next couple of years, the next few decades, how much more it could reduce. Can it completely eliminate the need for animal testing? That'd be amazing.
Yeah, exactly. It hopefully I think that's kind of the goal for them is to just, maybe not even have to do actual, tests, but just have AI simulate a test based on the characteristics it knows about certain animals. Like if you wanted to test how two mice would react to a certain scenario, maybe you could just kind of enter in that prompt into kind of like an AI chatbot and just ask it like hey, how would two mice act if they were put in this, X, Y, and Z environment? And it just plays it out for you.
Yeah, this is really amazing. And I'm reading right now that it's in the article, it's mainly focused on their behavior, right, when it comes to the testing.
Yeah,
Uh, and I'm imagining like I don't know how they might do it now, but if they can bring that towards, more physical tests, like a lot of people test cosmetics on animals. I believe that overseas in certain countries, it's required by the government for cosmetics to be tested on animals. Then this could have yeah, this could have like groundbreaking effects in that market as well. Yeah.
yeah. Definitely in terms of cosmetics and, products like that. And even, because they're talking about, I guess, how they respond to stress and medicine. So potentially for pharmaceuticals too, that this could be huge if you're trying to test, how even maybe if there was an AI model of like a human, how a human would react to a certain medicine, it would really help, or to certain stresses to kind of figure out and help learn more about the brain and, how people react to different things like this, to different stress changes and how they behave.
If done right, it could be arguably much more effective than animal testing ever was. Completely eliminate it.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Um, there was an interesting discussion about like if there was an AI that was like a human looking AI and there was just a person conversing with the AI, is like how would that you be able to tell if the other person you're talking to is an AI if they look exactly the same. You know, if two people look the same, they talk in the same kind of style, is like, how would you be able to differentiate it in the moment, you know?
Is it a physical sim or an eSIM?
Well, like if this was physical, you know,
I
like,
and I'm saying like they both if they're both doing the same thing, it's like oh,
yeah, yeah.
gosh.
And it's like, if it was almost identical in terms of visuals and it was speaking like you, it would be very hard to tell. So, you know, for testing and stuff like that, that would be great if there was something, if eventually they could come up with, you know, kind of like a test avatar that would react and would be stressed out just like a human would. Like say if you gave it a medicine and it really, you know, was irritated by it, and that was like you would just know, you know, not to give that to people. And yeah, like you said, it would just completely remove the whole need for animal testing. And like you said, it's more accurate because animals aren't exactly, you know, like us.
Wait, wait,
Yeah, this next piece of news is just about how in Switzerland right now, kind of speaking related and segueing from this human AI, or like using AI for to replace humans or to kind of have a human looking AI. There's an AI Jesus at a Swiss church, basically running the confession booth. I have this video that I put. Well, I'll just play like a little snippet of it, because it's like a 5 minute video. But there was a part right here. Yeah, I'll share my screen and play this, but and we can react to it. But it's pretty cool. It looks pretty realistic. Let me know if you have any trouble seeing that, but I think it should be up right now.
oh, I don't. Okay, now I see it. Yes.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Okay, okay, okay.
And it's a little translated, so the audio is a little, you know, it's saying it in Swiss and whatever, Swiss and then English. But yeah, I mean, it kind of looks a little bit like Russell Brand. I wouldn't say it's like a perfect, but it looks pretty realistic. And basically, it's like they're telling people don't use it as like it doesn't actually, you know, I guess in the rules of the church, it's not seen as like an actual confession because you're not confessing to like a priest or a fellow person, but it's pretty good. I mean, if there isn't anyone available to talk to and you just want to go to church, you know, maybe after hours, or, you know, they don't have a physical priest there and you just want to get some things off your chest, I could see some people using it.
Yeah, it'd be perfect for that. But I'm just looking at that. It's like if it's a screen, there's no reason to put him behind the divider. It just makes it look creepier.
Yeah.
Just put him right there. Oh
It,
gosh.
I couldn't tell. I like that too, though. I like that touch, but I couldn't tell if that's actually the screen. Like if they even made the whole, you know, video or whatever having that like mesh over it, or if they actually put him behind the you know, the kind of separator there. But it kind of gives you that authentic feel, I guess.
I guess. Well, I mean, if it's helping them, then I guess that's all right. Or I don't know. Or they could just replace the image with something else, or maybe have it to the side. Something about the screen and the way it's positioned. It's just got the little heebie-jeebies. But I'm glad that if people are finding help from it, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm reading a few of the quotes here. Like some of the people are saying he was able to reaffirm me in my ways of going about things. One woman said, and he helped me with questions I had. Um, I was surprised. It was so easy, another woman remarked. Though it's a machine, it gave me so much advice. So it seems like he's doing a good job so far. You know, uh, on the contrary, there are some AIs that are not doing so great. So all AIs really are not created equal because there's two AI hosts in Hawaii of like a news show, and they've actually been fired recently after being hired pretty recently, not that long ago. I think they had a kind of a short stint at their Hawaii newspaper. It was 2 months, it says. But they were basically a pair. So a girl and a boy version of these AI generated presenters, James and Rose. And they were basically installed at the Garden Island Hawaii paper. Um, and this, I mean, the article is very well written. The way they're even saying employee retention is always a bit of a problem at the local newspaper. Clearly, it's a problem for normal employees, but also AI as well. But yeah, basically, they had these two journalists that were created by Kalido. It's like an Israeli AI firm, and they were talking to each other. So there was actually no people involved in the show. It would be them talking to each other and reacting to different news stories. But I guess the problem was that people were finding like they would say a really violent story and then like a really happy story right after, and all kind of in the same tone. So it would seem like there's no kind of differentiation between sad, happy, like different human emotions, and then also like the order in which to tell the stories. They would kind of just put like a super tragic story right before, a really happy, like outgoing story, which gave people kind of an uneasy feeling because of how easily they would switch from talking about such sad to such happy things. So I think that's very interesting because it's like there's different areas where these AI avatars can do well, and some areas where they can't. So like, because I know people have a lot of worries about like AI taking jobs away, but it's like very clearly it seems now we're seeing that like some jobs are safe for a while. Like if you're a news host or a personality like that, where human emotion is important, it seems that your job should be safe for now. But like with the Jesus AI, it seems to be doing a good job because it kind of, I think most of the time the emotions are from the person accepting the confessions are kind of the same almost. Like I don't have too much experience with it, but it seems to me that mostly the person confessing is doing the majority of the talking, So it's kind of just acting as like an ear to listen to your confession slash maybe add some advice or a little bit of input, but it's not giving you like these whole monologues and kind of acting as an entertainment source. Where that's why I think the news reporter ones didn't do as well is because like people have gotten so used to listening to these news broadcasters, so they need someone to like be entertaining and change up the tones and get excited about things.
Definitely. With the news broadcasters, especially, it's basically they're just getting inputs of different stories, not someone's personal story, and they have to go back and forth. It's lot more complicated processes that they have to do. They're not sure, uh, like they understand this tone, that tone, still not understanding exactly what to use and when. But to be honest, when you start talking about people using the AI Jesus, I started having flashbacks to all the times I would just complain to Chat GPT about my daily life. Yeah, yeah, I just it's like, okay, the bus is late. Oh my God, my food is burnt. How this is such a nightmarish day. Why does this happen?
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned that because it's like when you're telling like a friend a bunch of things that are going wrong, you almost don't need them to be it have different like tones because if they show like a lot of excitement after you told them that you might take it the wrong way, but if they show like a lot of sadness then you might start thinking like, oh, is my day even worse than I thought? So it's almost like the kind of neutral, like, hey, just hang in there, and just kind of not pushing any of its emotions onto you, but taking yours in is kind of the ideal option there.
Sure. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be complaining to it today too. I know, I just know.
Oh, yeah. I hope, yeah, I hope it's a good listener because I mean they also mentioned though for this one, they mentioned for the AI Jesus to like they were saying not to say any super personal information, but I wonder why. I assume it's just because they would have it, but I guess yeah, I don't know.
And they don't want any potential bleed over that sometimes people have mentioned happening.
Oh, yeah, because it's like what if one person comes in and tells a whole story about, themselves, and then when someone else who has maybe like a similar situation comes in, what if the AI just mistakes them for the same person and starts giving them, kind of the same advice? And then you've got, people walking around getting the same same tips.
And if they're living in the same locality, people will be like, did what?
True, true. And I mean, I think it's sooner than later, like people will start messing with it maybe and telling it stuff about other people. Like, because I'm just thinking about how teenagers are going to misuse this. And I could definitely see some kids coming in after school and, just saying something about like their teacher or something. And then someone else comes in and it's just getting all this gossip.
Only time will tell how AI Jesus does. We're rooting for you, man. We're rooting for you.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't get fired, like the Hawaiian reporters who were, I guess, enjoying Hawaii a little too much. But yeah, just going through these news stories here. I don't know if you saw, but I just recently heard about this. Twitter is now having basically all your posts are available for AI training, and there's no opt out button. There's no option to opt out. And so a lot of people there's a new social media called Blue Sky. And so a lot of people are switching over from Twitter to Blue Sky. And it gives you an option to actually export all your tweets and all your data and move it over to Blue Sky so that it's all your timeline kind of stays the same.
That's pretty good. Uh, yeah. I guess when you said that apparently it's like Twitter, I was like X, formerly known as Twitter, is now doing this. It's like, oh yeah, that is something that they would do right now. It's like, oh really? Why did they gotta do that? Just I think if they just put like a button which just lets you opt out, a bunch of people aren't even gonna. So I don't
Right,
know.
right. Which is what I think a lot of programs do is, whatever they're collecting data or whatnot, they just give you the opt out option, and most people will still click, accept all cookies or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. When
Um,
they do this, they're just gonna push people.
yeah, it's definitely pushing people away. I think I saw like 20 million users already went over to Blue Sky or something like that. So it's definitely driving people away, and it's a little bit interesting because it's all the content from the past as well. So it's just your whole Twitter basically, not even everything going forward. So, which is kind of odd because it's like you go on this platform, you think maybe like 10 years ago you join, you're putting all your art, writing, maybe poetry, whatever it is, like whatever your craft is, you're putting it all out there, sharing it, and then it's like now you're not going to go back and delete everything, and you don't want to delete the whole account. So it's just hard to even like, what do you do if you just have like all your art on there or all your work or whatever it is, like your whole personality, and then they're just using it. Like you don't want to delete the whole Twitter. but you don't want to go back and choose what to delete. It'll take forever.
They're good. They're definitely gonna have some like they I would hope that they would change their minds and add the opt-out option because they're going to have so many problems with intellectual property violations this way. Like I can't even imagine how many, the millions and the millions of people, the billions of images and works and music that they could have issues with. My goodness. It's like
Yeah, and it makes it. I'm wondering, like, yeah, like if something is copyrighted, and or if a major musician, puts a song on Twitter and it's fully copyrighted, owned by a music label, how does Twitter just get to override copyright law and just basically say we're going to use this anyways, you know?
goodness, I don't know the legalities of this, but I think someone's gonna try something and they're gonna have a good point.
Yeah, because it's like, and also it's just for Twitter. They might accidentally end up using, someone's art that's, maybe a little too big for them to use. Like, what if they're making some kind of art, like a little picture or a little music video with this AI, and they end up using like Jay-Z's song or something or Beyonce's song, and the AI accidentally uses a part of it, and then they release it. I just feel like it's either like not allowed or this is the greatest loophole that they've ever found because if they can just legally use all of this content for art, it's going to be a lot, and they're going to be pretty much able to make whatever they want.
That's that's gonna be pretty much. And then, but also, um, if this affects the big players, even if they found some kind of legal loophole where they can do it this way, the big players, they're not gonna settle for it. They're gonna hire their big lawyers and figure out some other thing that this person is doing wrong and get them for it.
Oh yeah, 100%, because it just doesn't seem that, and especially the labels that own a lot of this work, they're pretty litigious. So even Elon Musk is going to have to answer to them, and they've been pretty litigious, so they have probably amongst all the all the labels and all the media companies together, um, they're probably worth just as much as Twitter or Elon Musk. So this doesn't seem like something he'd just be able to easily, get away with.
I'm hoping this is yet again one of those things that they say, oh, we're definitely going to do, and then immediately pull back on once they realize this. Oh, oh my gosh, are they rolling it out actually though? Is it happening right now? Oh gosh, it's happening right now. Oh,
Yeah, I think it's happening. Maybe let me double check if it already has, or if this. It's actually, I think the website's updated terms of service hide an unpleasant caveat. I believe that they have already released these terms of service. Yeah, so as per the company's updated terms of service, users who post, submit, or display content on Twitter now automatically grant the platform a worldwide, non-exclusive, royalty-free license with the right to sublicense, to licenses out to others, to use, copy, reproduce, process, adapt, modify, publish, transmit, display, upload, download, and distribute such content in any and all media or distribution methods. Wow.
it's like Hemingway with the shark. Like if the audience doesn't know, Ernest Hemingway once he was trying to shoot a shark, but he got himself in the leg, and I think he got himself in the leg twice. Feels like that.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know this story.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, Hemingway. Wow. You look up his life. Yeah, goodness. Well, I'm glad I don't use Twitter or X anymore. Hopefully, it's like, do you have anything on there you're kind of worried about?
No, I don't think I'm not worried in general. I don't think that I haven't used it for that long. I made one for our like marketing company's page, and it just doesn't. really attract me as a user. Like I prefer Instagram personally. I think it's Twitter's a little bit weird with I never got used to it because before it was kind of just words, but now it's like you can post words and videos. So it's like I'm like this is kind of the same thing as Instagram, to be honest. So I don't know. I haven't really ever had much of a need for it. So I'm not too bummed. Like it's not like a oh boy, I have to leave Twitter, you know. I feel like if this was Instagram, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But I guess my opinion on it is if you post your work to the internet, it's like there's a chance that someone might use either AI or just copy it, and then you kind of have to cross that bridge when you get there. Like to me, it's like you either don't post anything at all and you don't share your work, and you kind of risk just not being invisible, but like you just risk kind of not getting anyone to see what you've created. Or, you can just post it and kind of forget about it. And if someone ends up copying your work, or like you see that a major part of your work has been used in a collaborative kind of way where they took a little bit from different artists, it's like then in my opinion, I would, have an issue with it and then try to like get it resolved. But it just seems like too much of a worry to constantly be, should I take this off the internet, because someone might use AI to recreate it. So I don't know. It's just something that I kind of keep in the back of my head.
It's true, it's true. I guess posting it with the potential risk, and then the company coming out with this, and it just like telling people, oh, as soon as you put it up, we're gonna snatch it, like it's a guarantee. It's like, oh, that's a whole nother level.
Yeah, it really is a whole nother level. And it's like I do genuinely believe that like imitation is the greatest form of flattery. If someone copies your work to the point where it's indistinguishable from yours, I don't think that it will do as much for them as they think it will. Like, I think most people will recognize that they are imitating your work and that you are still the original. It's like, you could copy Beethoven over and over and over again. And I don't think, even if he was around to see it, he would care because everyone still knows you're playing Beethoven. It's like if you go and try to claim that you wrote it yourself, it will still be so obvious. And I think people will still recognize what you're copying. So it's like the original creator only gets more credit in a way. Like it's like if there's someone making, pictures or art and they're drawing and no one copies them. It's to me it's almost versus someone who's drawing and millions of people are copying them. To me, the person being copied is almost more their work is almost more significant because of all the people copying them because it's kind of like a vote in their style and in their creation. It's like I'm gonna vote that this will work. Like I am gonna back this by recreating it myself, investing the time to copy this. It's almost like a compliment.
Yeah, guess so. But also, I'm kind of worried, like, wait, did they say in there something about being able to use it for whatever, however they like? Were they able to profit from it as well?
Yeah, well, I think they can
Oh
use it
boy.
any way they want, and
Oh boy. They're
just
just
not
trying to
ex yeah.
they're just trying to wage a war with everyone now.
Oh yeah. And I guess it's not exclusively, so like it's not like, you can't profit off of it either. If you made something, you can profit off of it any way you want, but it's like so can they. So maybe that's kind of how they're getting around the fact like if there's already a major company producing records or something like that, they're technically saying like, oh, we're not stopping you from doing that. We're not getting an exclusive license for this work. We're just going to profit off of it too. But then it's like if there's two versions of something, it's going to detract some customers from the original work, and maybe they'll end up buying the copy. So that part I do feel like is a little bit of a problem. Like, yes, imitation is flattery, but at a certain point, if you're, you know, taking profits away from the original creator, you're kind of stripping them of their success.
It's that there's got to be like there's I really don't think there's a way they can proceed with that legally at that level. It's at that extremity. It's and I'm thinking about all the stuff, all the images, all the music that was things sent directly to the copyright office that have been officially copyrighted and then posted. And if there are derivative works based directly off of off of those that they have taken and created things off of. It's gonna, oh my goodness. Oh, wow. Oh, some lawyers are gonna have a good day. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of legal fees involved with this. I'm just, yeah, I'm a little bit confused how they're going to get away with it, but it's interesting to see. Um, yeah, just in terms of another AI experiment that this one kind of had mixed reviews, but it's been going around in the news today. There's basically this Coca-Cola advertisement that was completely AI generated, and it was some people thought that it was well made, but some people are saying that well, I guess some articles are claiming that it's facing controversy by using AI but I watched it. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's just this kind of seems a little bit generic, but so I'm a little bit confused as to how, some of these articles are really being harsh on them, like saying it fell flat. Um, I mean, it just didn't seem like it matched the quality or the kind of creativity of Coca-Cola's usual advertisements. Um, but I don't think that it's a complete fail. I actually think this shows a little bit of promise. Like, if there's more prompting and more kind of guidance of the technology, I feel like it could be used to make some pretty good stuff because the actual, like, what it's able to create, the quality isn't terrible. It's just that, you got to use it right. It's like if you just kind of let it do its thing and you don't give it that much input, then, maybe it'll just kind of run wild or create something that is pretty generic because it's just using all the previous advertisements as examples. So like I feel like you have to give it some human input, some creative input that's kind of, you know, unorthodox or out of the box, and then let it run with it.
And I'm looking at the little snippets of the video right now. And as someone who does work in the creative industry and a bit of design, I'm kind of seeing I'm kind of seeing it's essentially if they took the first draft of a storyboard and then just rolled with it. So basically, they could take something like this and send it to actual animators, designers, like storyboard artists for these types of things, and just have them rework it, and it would be much better. It's like
Yeah.
oh, I'm trying to, okay, so right now what I'm seeing is even though technically all of the animals are in a, very realistic style, they're slightly different. There's slightly different realistic styles. Like some of there's a little more expression here or there. There's some of the like turning is a bit odd, but essentially, if they could just get somebody with a bit of technical know-how to touch it up, because there's people who can do that. They can just take a video. They don't have to fully recreate the 3D model and just modify it so it looks a little more lifelike, less odd.
Exactly. It's like these little details are noticeable, but then like, for example, the Coca-Cola trucks like driving through the town or through the mountains that are kind of lit up. with like the Christmas lights, those look good to me, in terms of quality. But like you said, like the animals, like when there was two mice next to each other, you could kind of see a little bit of a difference, in their eyes and stuff like that. But I think everything that's like Coca-Cola brand, like that's not either people or animals, looks pretty good. Like the Coca-Cola trucks, especially, I thought looked good.
Good. Oh, I definitely, it's like it's the little details that are so important, especially with the people like the guy holding up the Coke bottle. I think he was supposed to be looking at it, but he's kind of looking slightly off of it. It's like, oh, what's going on there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see like when stuff is moving, especially too, like the hand holding the Coke is moving. There's slight glitches and stuff like that. But
I, I don't know how this got up. Like they should have, uh, if this was handmade by someone, it wouldn't have gone through post-production like this. It would have been sent back. There would have been edits made. It's like do you remember in 2019 there was that they had to redo the whole Sonic movie or something?
oh, I don't know. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, it's like so some kind of partially live action Sonic movie where the Sonic and the other I don't know, I'm not really a fan, but Sonic and the other characters were animated. The trailer was so horrifying. The CG for that was nightmarish that they literally had to extend the delivery date and send it back to the studio. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like whether something is good or not, it's like to the human eye, even if sometimes even when people make it, it can be kind of weird. So them just putting this through and saying, all right, it's all set. It's AI, so it's all set. That's kind of an issue there. It's like seeing all this. Oh, no post-production.
Yeah, it's like they almost maybe felt like since this is AI, we can kind of get away with having a little bit of couple glitches here and there, which I think is the wrong move. Like, like you said, it's like if they just had multiple drafts and went back and edited it, this could have been a really passable, like normal app. Like, I think the actual creative, like the storyboarding, like you said, is not terrible. Like, if this was just perfect though and had no glitches, the store and just played perfectly and no one could even tell it was AI, then I think it would be a lot more successful.
Yeah. And as this is the Coca-Cola company, one of the richest companies in the world, it's like they couldn't just take this as a draft and then just reshoot the parts with actual people, just copying that. Oh, oh boy.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's, yeah, they could also just use it as like a draft maker. Like, hey, this would be the draft, and then they would go and actually film this commercial
Mhm.
with CGI, whatever.
Yeah. Oh gosh, they think it's the whole pie instead of just the whipped cream on top. That's what they're thinking right now, I feel.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a common problem is thinking that it can do everything. Like, I find it a little bit, we can get into this a little bit more later, I feel like, when we're talking about the B2B, like tips and just how businesses can use AI. But it's a good point to talk about it now too. It's like, I feel like relying on it to completely do a task and just thinking that you can, you know, completely just put your feet up, relax, and just have ChatGPT, do all the work for you, I think is a little bit of a misconception. I think like a lot of the skills in the future is going to be controlling the chatbots and like getting it to do things in a certain way. Like
Mhm.
maybe there will even be people at companies that are just in charge of like talking to the AI to guide it, to like make it do certain tasks the proper way. Because it's like you gotta give it information and kind of give it templates and train it, give it examples, tell it exactly what you need and how. Because it's like I think people get disappointed when they just think they can just type in hey, write me a whole essay about this, and it's going to be brilliant and have, and just write it exactly how you would write it. But it's like you got to give it some information, a little bit of help, a little bit of guidance.
Absolutely. And it's like it's thinking about what I think first thinking about what are the cracks that it can fill first instead of making and replacing every single component in some kind of idealized way, just expecting all of the output before any of the input. I feel like that's a lot of the problem there, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Expect it to fill the cracks, not pave the whole road, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like what things can it do successfully that are fairly simple and straightforward that can assist and support instead of trying to replace certain things where like certain tasks where it's still not good at, Uh like I think maybe like summarizing an email and then having suggestions for how to greet the person. That's something I've seen it do fairly well, but otherwise creating whole ads from scratch like Coca-Cola did. It's yeah, I don't know what they were thinking there. Also, it's like if I feel like the budget for that was somehow extremely low for some reason.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like they should have a bigger budget for this kind of stuff, but maybe not. Maybe everyone's just trying to get the best deal they can, I guess, save money, but this seems like a little bit too much of a save money effort, you
And
know?
it looks like something if we just wanted to try something out, we could find some kind of free program to do it, just type in enough stuff and they would create something that looks the same. But this is the Coca-Cola company, multi-billion dollar industry. Uh,
Yeah, I think I read they used three different AIs, but I think one of them was just DALL-E, I
oh my
believe,
God.
to make the pictures or something like that. For this, I think they were just using DALL-E for some of the sketches and stuff like that for the ideas. Oh,
Mhm. Mhm. But if the
it's
Coca-Cola company, if anybody at the Coca-Cola company sees me right now, that you got to look into this. People like with the I know with the movie I can't remember. It was a Jim Henson movie, The Dark Crystal. They did a sequel with it. Basically, they used the real puppets, but they would use CGI in post-production to make them blink to give them slight expressions, and it really brought them to life. Get somebody who can do that. They can literally go into this video and fix it. And it's just, I don't know why they didn't do that.
yeah, maybe they just it's like one honestly, and one option is maybe they wanted it to have all these sorts of, little issues so that people would have something to, nitpick on and be like, hey, Coca-Cola, this giant company, has all of these mistakes in its ad. Let's all go watch the ad and kind of criticize it.
Oh, it's just, oh, they just, oh, they made, it was bait. Oh, that makes sense. If it was, that makes more sense than anything at all, that it was just bait, just to create controversy. Any kind of reaction is a good reaction to them. They say, oh, we're the Coca-Cola company. Nobody's gonna drop us.
Exactly. And it's like the risk to them is not that high. No one's going to stop drinking Coke because of this. Um, but it's like there's like a common, kind of mindset that it's like if you want to get attention, you show people what they haven't ever seen before. And having a giant company like Coca-Cola make a great ad is almost predictable. Like it's almost what people expect, and I feel like it doesn't really get attention. But having a company like Coca-Cola make an ad that has problems is newsworthy almost. It's like it's shocking. It's like how could a company with the budget to actually make this, why would they use AI and then not edit it at all and just make an ad that someone else could make?
I think we've discovered the conspiracy. It's like they want something that's going to cause a lot of controversy right now without being too controversial in of itself and cause them a lot of damage at the end of the day. It's just like people are very like upset, angry over the ad just not being of good quality. And then that's about it. There's been so many worse things companies have put out and have had to deal with the backlash for this. I think they know it's not going to last long too.
Right. And it's not the kind of backlash that, makes you hate a company. It almost makes I feel like it almost makes other companies and other people kind of like them more because it's a little bit more like relatable. Like, hey, they're using AI to just make an ad, like, and they're messing up. Like I'm finicking around and trying to make something like this. Like, hey, they're just like an everyday person, except I'm sure they still spent a lot of money on it. But it's like and I guess for, if you're running a small business, I don't know if I would recommend using this strategy for just one simple fact is like people often believe that all advertisements produce sales, but there are advertisements that actually hurt the sales of products. Like there's been a time when it was the Ford Bronco, the exact car, where they ran advertisements on it. And I believe also with their truck. So it's like their bigger SUVs and their big trucks. They were running ads on them and they found that less people were buying them when they remembered that they saw a Ford F-150 ad. They were kind of turned off by the product. They were like, I'm going to go buy a Chevy because Ford's trying to push this new truck on me. So it actually did the opposite of help. And so, like, if you're Coca-Cola, you're in a position where you can almost do anything and people will still drink Coca-Cola just because it's Coca-Cola or Pepsi, really. It's almost, I don't want to use the M word and say it's a monopoly, but it's everywhere. You're not really going to get around it, it will be here tomorrow. But if you're a small business, making a bad ad just to get attention, probably not the best idea unless it's very well thought out and you know for a fact you have no risk in it.
Mhm, mhm. I always err on caution, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I think like if you are using AI for like a small business ad, I think simple is always best. Like if you could make something really simple but it looks clean, rather than trying to go for something complicated like this ad, but it has a lot of issues, you know?
Yeah, and what I recommend if affordability is possible, use it for your draft, use it for your storyboard, and once that's done, it's most likely going to be off somehow. Take that, tweak it, send it to a professional, whether it's an illustrator, an animator, some kind of VFX artist, and they show them what you want, and they can make you something that's pretty polished and doesn't have any of those issues.
Yeah, exactly. Use it as kind of a first draft. Just up next, this is a little bit this is just in, I guess, business and entrepreneurship news, not really as much tech related, but Goldfish changed their name bass uh, to try, yeah, and the reasoning is even weirder because they say they want to have a more adult name, but they're trying to advertise towards Gen Z. So
What
it's
the?
it's the weirdest combination because they're going for an older name, like a name that sounds more sophisticated, like Chilean sea bass
What
goldfish,
is this?
to attract young people.
Is this is this a troll? Is this okay? The way the ad looks, I feel like this is a troll. I feel like they're not gonna stick with this though.
I honestly thought it was fake at first, but it's actually from Goldfish, and this like I thought I saw it on like social media at first, so I thought it was just one of those photoshopped like news stories, but it is real.
No, no, no. I know that, but I feel like, do you feel like they're gonna stick with it, or is it just some kind of like temporary thing for fun? Because I feel like it has a bit of like the that old. Remember that Old Spice guy? Like the it has some kind of like wild vibe, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely a gimmick. I think they're doing it temporarily. I don't think it's going to last forever. I believe they've made it clear that this isn't going to be the new forever game name change, but they're trying to kind of step up their game, like in terms of like the publicity. It seems like everyone's Coca-Cola, Goldfish, everyone's trying to do a little shock factor advertising right now, right around the holidays for some reason. Get those sales up.
Uh, I mean, if it works out for them, whatever the heck that Chilean sea bass, what the heck?
Yeah, yeah. It got me thinking like maybe for keeping we need to just create like the most crazy name or like a variation or a
Uh, uh,
product.
oh, just give it some kind of just give it the name of some kind of like high achieving like butler from some remote part of Europe. Yeah, I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah, like Alfred from Batman.
Mhm. Uh, oh, I remember I remember some okay, I remember somebody behind walking behind me in Manhattan once said one of the fanciest names I've ever heard of. Can't remember Massimo. That's what it
Massimo.
was. Massimo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody was gonna meet this guy named Massimo. I was like, that's a fancy ass name. Yeah, I would like to meet
Yeah, that is nice. That is nice. Oh, that's a nice name. That's fancy. That could be a good butler name right there.
him. Yeah. Hey Massimo, where are my socks?
Classic Jeeves as well. Jeeves could be a good butler name. Classic Seinfeld.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Or oh gosh, we can think of like those old murder mystery novels. Like I can't remember what, uh, whatever meme that came out of it, where it was the butler that did it. Those types of things. Like, what did they name the butlers? Mm, I can't remember. But yeah, something to
Like,
brainstorm.
yeah, yeah, definitely something to keep in mind. It's it's the season, you know. Um,
There's a season.
Basically, up next, I just thought this was kind of interesting, but I was thinking these are some issues that I think even maybe keeping would be great for solving, and I think just AI in general is going to probably revolutionize this. So I was looking at like because right now there is a boom of self-storage facilities, basically. And there was a few different scenarios. Like one was talking about how there was someone that got in to basically a storage unit that wasn't theirs because they just pretended to be like a sibling of the person, and that they said that the storage unit was my sister's and she passed away, so I need access to it, and then they just stole everything. And there's other times where it's like people come in and sometimes they say that they forgot something in a storage unit and they get access to like the wrong one. And there's just all these kind of mishaps that go down and occur because these self-service storage unit facilities, are mainly unattended. Like maybe there's one person working there, but a lot of it is just like they'll call or they'll use like a ring thing and communicate with like the landlord or the owner, like that. And he just kind of like automatically will open one or something like that. And I was just thinking that with the use of cameras, like smart cameras, and keeping combined, this is like an industry where easily like a storage unit, everything could be updated automatically and stored. And like the people who, like if the AI could see that in a storage unit, there's, pictures, like family pictures. It could detect like, oh, these are the family members. And then, or these are the people, if the person goes in on like on Keepin and mentions that, these are the people that I want storing my items, then maybe it could even detect like, hey, this item was stored or placed by someone who's not in your immediate circle. Or like, and it's just perfect catalog of all your stuff. So it's like there's it's interesting because I'm just kind of looking forward to seeing how this industry adapts because right now it's all like it's trying to be futuristic, but there's all of these problems that keep occurring because they don't have like, you know, these smart features basically equipped. Like they're kind of running just a generic, storage facility, but you just go in on your own. Maybe you have like the most technology they have is like they'll have like a smart lock or whatever, so people can kind of check in and out by themselves, so like a key fob. But in the future, if this is all like, integrated with keep-in and smart cameras, it can make it a pretty booming industry and make it a lot easier for people to start up one of these. And I think it's probably going to be an industry where more and more people in the future are starting one because it'll be easier to run.
Absolutely. It's like incorporating the two-factor authentication is so easy and common to do on one's phone. If they can't incorporate some kind of way to do it inside of storage units, then they would be that they're extremely behind with modern times. I'm when you mentioned that some people trick the owners into thinking that the tenants have passed away and they are next of kin, I'm just thinking about how I've had a relative who passed, and in order to help somebody get access to their bank account, we had to go through like a lengthy process of presenting the death certificate and whatnot, and it included some online components and over the phone. So incorporating that into this, I think it would be pretty important, pretty required, I would say. It's like just you can't go off somebody's word that a tenant has died. If there's no proof, then they shouldn't have access to their items. Mm.
Right. And it's like, and yeah, exactly. And there's many cases of like, sometimes people will claim that something was stolen or something like that, and but it really wasn't, or like that they're having, issues with their storage unit and stuff's missing. But like with this, if they had like smart, cameras and like a digital catalog, then they would always like even the owner would be able to tell if something's gone missing or if, who took it, when, and where they put it.
Yeah, there could always be a record of access, like if it was accessed and if it was accessed by the owner of what the current renter of the unit or not. And I guess there would also be ways to, make make what a person puts in encrypted and private yet still record it. So there would be some kind of way to guarantee that was always tracked, yet also kept private in case the person doesn't want those types of things revealed.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like in terms of just marketing tips, um, if you're running a self-storage facility, offering some services where people could find all their stuff a lot easier, definitely a great move. I think in the future, like more amenities like that, like more smart amenities at self-storage facilities is definitely going to be a great way to stand out. Like if you have, if all your storage units are equipped with an app like Keepin and you can just find everything instantly as the person renting it. Like if you just, are trying to quickly look for a one particular thing, you can already kind of figure out where it is before you've even left your house and just look through your storage unit digitally, rummage through, find what you need, uh, and maybe even like select it that's saying that you're going to use it today so that, the owner or whatever can, get it ready for you. Like there's many ways that you can kind of incentivize people to go to your storage facility over others. But just in terms of tips, I think organization in general and like just above unit maintenance, but if there were storage units where they organized your stuff for you, I feel like that would be awesome. Just because I feel like most of those storage units are usually kind of a little bit messy. Like if they just, routinely organized it for you, that would be awesome. Um,
Yeah.
and
Well, I think one thing the app could do is if you show everything beforehand, it can help with recommendations on what things to put in which box with what other things. But yeah, thinking forward into the future about how it could improve your own organization skills and maybe potentially outsource organization. That could be something.
yeah, yeah, that would be huge because I think if because these are, I guess, just some general marketing tips that I think if maybe every time we're doing a webinar, we can pick like an industry and kind of just go over and give some tips, give some advice, what we know, maybe some AI advice about how people can utilize it to help with their business in that category. But like if this time, if we're kind of on that uh track of self-storage units, I think like the majority of people, if they're looking for a storage unit, it basically means they have more items than they have space for. So that's why I think if you're already in that position where you have, maybe a cluttered space at home and you need extra space to store all this stuff, kind of these routine, like, organization, uh, keeping everything, recommendations for how to store everything, especially how to fit it in a small space, like how Keepin can give you, is definitely going to be something that people would need, even in their home, but also when they're moving stuff out. Like maybe it can give recommendations like, hey, these kind of items you should definitely move to the storage unit, while these kind of items you use frequently, let's keep them at the house. So like even the moving in and out, like relocating some of your stuff to a storage unit, that process could definitely be simplified.
Yeah. Make everything you have a little smarter without modifying it. You don't have to put a sticker on anything. Huh.
Yeah, yeah, and definitely like content about utilizing space in your home. Even right now, I know that there's people like a lot of people, there's a trend for like downsizing, people moving into apartments, some people are moving into the country. So it's like tips for how to utilize the space, tips for moving, uh, basically just think about what would people that actually have more stuff than they can store be looking to find out on the internet. What kind of info would they be looking for? How do they get extra space in their home? Maybe that's definitely a common question that people search for. I think
Yeah.
partnering with local apartment complexes as well. Maybe giving a discount to people in exchange for promoting your facility. I feel like most of the time when people move into an apartment or move out, they might be looking for a storage unit. Like having that kind of partnership is great.
Mhm. And getting in maybe a more immediate estimate of the exact size of a storage unit one might have to rent based on, how many of their things that they want to put in there. I think it would be a little easier to calculate instead of just guesstimating and getting either too much or too little, because when I had one, I definitely got too much.
That's like that would be awesome if you could just put all your stuff in the middle of your living room and just scan it and be like, "Hey, how much is it going to cost and where can I get a storage unit to fit all of this?" Like I don't want it to be any bigger, I don't want it to be any smaller. I just need it to be enough to fit these exact items, and it just can recommend in your area like, "Hey, this place over here has a storage unit that will fit it, the lowest price."
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty good. It was and maybe depending on certain companies they use, they could give them a competitive deal if they see they only need to store this amount or that amount and they pre-scan it with them. That could be something,
Yeah,
you
like
know.
they could give like, maybe a referral program where it's like if the customer came from a keep-in recommendation, That would be tracked. And like if a facility was already using Keepin and like smart cameras, and someone was just at the stage where they just put all their stuff in their living room, scanned it, and they're asking Keepin, hey, where can I store all this? Like, what's a storage unit that will actually fit all this? Maybe it will give you an option to be like, hey, see how all this fits in this particular storage facility. Like in their storage unit, see how spread out everything will be, how cramped it will be. And it just gives you a visual of like your stuff in their exact storage units. Because since they have the cameras and people have been using Keepin, it can know what size it is, and it will just lay out all your stuff on the walls or in shelves or whatever, and just show you like, hey, it will look like this in a size of, in the smallest size, and then like this in a medium-sized storage unit.
Yeah, and then it could give recommendations about how to potentially rearrange things so that it could be more efficient, but also be like, oh, just in case you need a little bit extra space to put in more stuff later, we recommend that you don't go with an exact size and have people consider that.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's like it's kind of a little bit of a confusing process. Like it sounds simple, but like actually getting a storage unit, bringing all your stuff there, figuring out what size storage unit you need, all that stuff actually is a little bit complicated.
Mhm. Hopefully this helped make it a little simpler. Mhm.
Yeah, I hope so. Just to kind of pivot back, I guess, to like business business news. I mean, not really business news, but business topics. I just thought it would be kind of cool if we maybe share some. Like, I had a few books here that I'm reading now. I think it's like if people are interested in business, startups, people that might be listening to this webinar, I feel like they probably are interested in similar topics as us. So I thought maybe, from now we could, if we have a book we're reading or if we have a recommendation, we could just have some point of the webinars where we throw it out to people, and maybe people listening can give feedback if they've read it too, and it'll kind of start a chain reaction going. But I basically, if you're starting a business or in the startup space, I think this book, Almanac of Novel Ravikant, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, is really good. It's very short. I think like maybe a couple hundred pages, but I'm already like halfway done with it, and I've only been reading it for a little while. It's mainly like quotes and then like little excerpts explaining the quotes. So it's definitely an easy read. Like if you don't like very dense books, this is the one. Um, but I've been reading it, and it's given me a lot of good insight about like the modern world and creating products, creating value. He talks a lot about like working smart, not hard. And he had a really good kind of concept where he was saying you should always work hard, but that's like a given. But those that work smart, it usually ends up a little bit easier for them. It's like you can work hard all your life, but if working hard at the wrong thing, you're not really getting anywhere. And he talks about the importance, which this really resonated with me, is spending the right amount of time to choose what to work hard at and like choose the direction. Because I saw it as like, you have to choose a direction for the ship to sail, because once you're already sailing, if you start turning that wheel, just because you start turning it, it won't turn immediately. It will still be going in that general direction for a while. So, and the bigger the ship is, the harder it is to turn. So once your operation really grows, it becomes harder and harder to pivot and switch directions. So sometimes knowing which direction to push in is very, very key. And I think it's a really good kind of mindset to have for people who are starting a business or maybe, in this space already and have recently started a business, is really taking the time to think about where you're going to go and not rushing to kind of, jump in with both feet first and kind of start running.
That's absolutely like the best advice someone can give out there. Like you don't have to go with the first idea. You can let it simmer. You can think about it for a while. I remember when it came to learning a bit about business, thinking about what I wanted to do next in life, I think it was about a year or two before the idea of Keepin came to mind, where I was doing constant research, doing online courses, brainstorming. This and that idea always came out. But when they did, I you take them to the back, you let them simmer for a while. You consider it, you compare it to your research, and you go, I guess, by your best judgment after you've given it some judgment, instead of like going off of like quick instincts, like, oh, this has got to work, this has got to work, just thinking about it for a bit.
Right, exactly. Because it's like if you just go off instincts, I think that's good sometimes to trust your gut and like trust your instincts, but it's like if you only do as you feel, then it's like there's not much difference between us and just, like a pet that does whatever it wants or an animal that just goes wherever it pleases. It's like you got to have some rationale and some thought process behind every action. But because these days it's also like sometimes one right move leads to a lot of positive changes. And while I feel like maybe in the older times you had to work for a very long time at something, like at one particular thing, which I still think to some degree is valid now. But I just think that today each decision is even more important almost. Like each decision could be very negative or it could be very positive. It's like the chain reactions that one right decision can lead to, I think today are wider. There's a bigger, opportunity to each decision versus back in the day, it's like you'd kind of have to make a lot of correct decisions throughout your life to eventually, get some success. Whereas now I think in the digital age and the modern, world, I think you have to be very thoughtful of what you do because one wrong move can also lead to a lot of negative, and one right move can lead to a lot of positive.
Definitely. Like the the extremes have probably increased more and more with modern technology, and I expect the year after year the contrast will get only greater and greater. And but I'd say with that though, there's ever increasing amounts of resources to help you in your success if you're cognizant about how about looking for it, about being patient and careful with the steps that you're taking moving forward. I've seen some I've met some people personally that became successful doing some very interesting things. Like I told you about the mushroom lady, right?
I think maybe briefly, but not too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. I met this woman. She became highly successful teaching people how to microdose psychedelic mushrooms to discover their inner selves better. It's like you wouldn't think that, but damn, is she doing well. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that I could see. I think there's a guy like at Harvard who quit his job to do that, to like test basically microdose mushrooms and LSD a little while ago, and he wrote a book called Be Here Now. It's pretty good, but he lived in Needham, like a town over from me, and he's a pretty cool guy. Like his story was pretty cool. He like basically sold all his possessions. Like he had like some Mercedes convertible and a nice house, sold it, and went to like India for a little while to just microdose. And but yet his book has been read by a lot of entrepreneurs. So it seems that there's a market for it. Like people will pay big money if you can teach them how to do it properly.
absolutely. Yeah, it's like I'd say whatever you think about doing moving forward, think about it a lot. Do your market research and think about how you could proceed moving forward and understand whether something might be more challenging that you desire to do. Uh, I guess I don't know if maybe my story might be a bit of an example, but Somehow I just started posting rainbow animals online, and that led to a whole adventure on it in of itself, spanning Manhattan and other places. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it definitely would. And it's like in the moment, do you have any kind of indication that that would work out for you? Or did you just do it because you thought that you enjoyed it? Or like, how did that?
I just, I guess I put something out that I put a lot of work into, making sure that it was a quality product to introduce to the market and let people see, having it on social media, interacting with people, and thinking about what kind of like lots of research about what kind of consumer product would be most desirable on the market. And I think some of the things that people see, they think it's like it's a nice, enjoyable product from the heart. But there was also a lot of research. If you can see in a lot of my art, there's a lot of focus on the expressions of the animals and color palettes and generally how they might go onto certain products. And when I was doing that, it's like it wasn't coming out of nowhere. I was constantly listening to different podcasts about design, people who worked in either graphic design, people who worked in product design, and seeing where I wanted to go from there. So even if you see someone and it's like, oh, they just got really lucky. They were just wandering around and just lightning struck and they got what they were trying to do. I'd say a lot of the time, even if it seems like that, there was a lot of research and planning involved in ways that a lot of people might not even imagine. So yeah, just whatever you do it with, do it very consciously.
Hmm. And that it's like I feel like it's such a weird balance because there has to be that hard work and the kind of everything being so meticulous has to be there for and then that but like a little bit of luck I feel like only comes to those who are almost deserving of it. Like the harder you work, the luckier you get type of thing. Where it's like the people who do the work and are prepared to strike a little bit of luck are usually the ones who do because it's like if you're just sitting around waiting for something good to happen, it probably won't. And
Yeah, yeah, it's about casting the line and not expecting a fish every time. You
mm,
keep casting it and you pay attention every time you cast. What did you do better than the last time? If somehow you got something at some point, what was it in that moment that you can use again and again and just improving over time, you know?
yeah, yeah. It's like don't be surprised when the good things happen, but also don't expect them to. It's like, don't always expect every single time that it will work, but also don't be so surprised when it does happen. If you've put in the work, and you've thought about it and you've planned, it will happen eventually. But it's just yeah, it's very interesting. How did you like? I guess because when you are doing something like this, where it's creative and free flowing, and there's kind of no like blueprint, like, hey, do X, Y, and Z, like kind of in school when they tell you, like, for a homework assignment, do this, this, and this, and then you'll get an A. It's like, I feel like in creative work, how do you know before there's any kind of before there's any kind of like social proof that you've got something there, like before, people were commenting or like before you were getting all the attention and the recognition, I guess, that the product is good. How do you know, like personally, how do you kind of like either keep telling yourself that this will work or how do you know that it will work before, you put it out there?
I guess if you want to go from if someone wants to go from the initial type of work they like to create, I'd say listen to what people around you are saying about it. You don't listen to everything because people say strange things sometimes, but kind of get a general consensus. And if you maybe want to dive off of that and start moving forward with it, you can kind of finesse that style, move it more towards what they're saying. If they're saying that it looks like it could be good for toy design, you can move towards that. Or if it's something that they would really like as a graphic on a t-shirt, go towards those types of things. Or I guess or something in the animation field. Some people feel a little more drawn towards that. But other than that, there's a lot of there's a lot of market research, as I'd say. It sounds kind of odd, in an art type job. But I think market research is the same as, oh, seeing what styles inspire you most. And they might understand that one. And seeing, oh, what kind of these artists, if they do some kind of commercial art, what kind of products do they tend to make and are successful? Or if it's more fine arts, like which type of galleries accept their art the most, like the modern ones, the more fine ones. And if you go into New York City, you'll see all kinds of different galleries. It's like there's ones that's like for the general public, you bring your kids there. Others, it's like, oh, don't bring children there. Oh, it's nice, but oh no, no.
It's a yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But look, they have their audience. They're doing well. It's just, I guess, I guess finding a balance between what you're doing and where it could fit into the market. And even when it comes to the fine arts, the fine arts industry is a market in of itself. And I guess when I was doing my thing, I I first and foremost ruled out the fine arts market. I didn't want to do that and started looking in the commercial sector. And yeah, pretty much got where I was expected to be.
Hmm. Okay. So it's like I'm kind of picking up that you put it out there, you did the market research, you put out your version, and then you kind of took the feedback and let it morph a little bit.
Oh
Like
yeah,
if
absolutely. Yeah, so I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
no, no, you're good, you're good, you're good.
Oh yeah. So essentially, I I had a few rules for drawing, like what I liked and hard nose when it came to drawing, and then
Mm,
seeing where that would fit into the market. Like so I like to draw animals. I can draw people no problem, but it's more of an if I have to, if I must. And when someone does that, it does immediately take out certain options. But when that happens, like I'd say don't feel discouraged. It helps you better pinpoint where your type of art goes, It's if it's more specific, if it's more distinct, it'll be louder in whatever it's trying to like whatever you're trying to get into. So I got that. And so when it comes to animals, it's a lot of kids like they immediately associate animals with children. So in that
mm,
aspect, I thought, okay, so I can just bump up the friendliness of these animals, increase the softness, but I also want to make sure I keep the quality and the realism there. So if you see, it can have so to maintain this extreme realism, but also the sweetness that a cartoon might have. So you can put this hyper realistic lion in maybe a baby's room, but it won't be scary, it won't freak them out. And
mm,
in that way uh, I could maintain also style in which the art directors who work in those industries see that I can draw at that level. So there is a range that I could create for them when it comes to products and age range. So I guess,
mm.
yeah, that's kind of how I got into the toy design portion. But also, not only that, I designed cartoon rainbow unicorns for little kids, uh, teddy bears for babies, but also I create Magic the Gathering cards and do scientific illustrations for, different museums and conservation institutions. So, and
Mm.
basically, when I think about that, it's like every single thing I wanted to put on my list, like right there. So I don't know, I'm rambling. I apologize, but basically
No,
just Yeah, but basically just um think about think about everything you want and how to best incorporate it into the products you're showing and showing them I can serve all of these without contradicting each other.
Okay, so don't settle. Find a way to incorporate all your interests. And it almost seems like you did a little bit of like segmentation is like in marketing they call it, like kind of like comparing what you want and like what you don't want your style to be to like what's out there already. Like kind of like it like a lot of companies will like they'll take their products, for example, and they might put it up on like a little board of here in this corner, we have like the expensive luxury brands. Like, if it's like a company, like they'll have BMW and Mercedes, and then in a different square, they'll have, this other category of cars, and they'll see where they fit into it. It almost seems like you kind of analyzed like the whole industry or market and saw like these are the things I like to do. These are the things that people are now asking for. How do I incorporate, making it toys, making, all these different products, but from the same styles and interests. Hmm.
Essentially so that when it's for the little kids, it's um, or for an older audience, and nothing is diluted, but just something added on. For little kids, a little more realism that they and the parents could appreciate. For the Magic the Gathering or the conservation groups, just this extra bump of delight in the expressions and the colors that they often enjoy while still keeping the anatomical accuracy.
Wow. Yeah, no. It's like, would you ever in the future consider doing like cartoons, like animated cartoons, like series?
Maybe, but I'll say animation is for those who love animation. It is a bit exhausting. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, I could. I think one way to kind of do it while keeping the realism but not making it too exhausting is kind of like it's kind of like rigging a pre-drawn model. They do that a lot with kids animation these days. So it's
Mm.
like a single drawing, they've already rigged it. So even if it's two-dimensional, they just kind of move it around. And I've seen some look more successful than others, but honestly, the best ones are pretty nice.
Yeah, because I feel like that would be awesome for kids. Like I'm just looking at the art even in the background right now, and like just if they were, moving around and came to life, like that would be sick. I feel like maybe if you got like someone else to animate it, because obviously that's probably it's a little bit of a time consuming task, but you know, because it almost seems like you have like all these verticals, like it's kind of like its own like almost like a Disney or like a company that creates the characters and then creates stories, but then also products like the toys and the art. It's like it's all its own style. So I feel like yeah, if it could be almost like in the future, it almost seems like a media kind of like a Disney or like a company that makes like children's cartoons, but also because like what is it? Is it Hasbro that owns Magic the Gathering or something
Yeah,
else?
It's Hasbro.
Because like they make toys for kids, but then also Magic the Gathering is like a series kind of like that adults play too. So it's like, their kind of characters and their style come to life in different forms. Like it almost sounds like that to me.
Yeah, it's like companies can be, even if they're known for one thing, primarily they can be extremely successful in another thing where it's like their name almost becomes attached. It's like their name related to this product is almost an afterthought.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like I know Magic the Gathering first, and then I have to be like, oh, does Hasbro own that? Or does like what else does Hasbro own? Like they're kind of like they're the owners for sure, but you still think of Magic the Gathering as its own thing.
Oh my gosh, and I'm still remembering the convention, just like it was a while ago, but it's a great time.
Yeah, like how would you say the age groups there are? Like, is it mainly? I'm assuming mainly people who are like over 20, or is it a lot of younger kids too?
Oh yeah, I'd say I met a wide variety of age groups, older generations, children. I would say though that the average age group seemed to be adult, young adult to adult, just people who, you know, are working their own jobs full time, have their own income, and can afford the often not, it doesn't have to be, but often somewhat expensive card game. That's for sure. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it seems also more of a complicated game to play. So I'm assuming that it's not like a lot of like, 6-year-olds going and buying these card packs and playing this game.
There's some genius kids though. I swear, I was sitting there like after the tables were closed, just trying to watch people play. I still don't get it. So
Yeah, but no, it's like what you've said kind of it perfectly, I feel like sums up that like you can't be too rigid, but you also have to have a well thought out plan. Because it's like when you were you suggested by someone to venture into like the toys, or was that your idea?
I guess it's I guess I had ideas of what kind of what kind of style would work for what kind of field. And when I did that, trying to put something out that could cast a bit of a wider net. And I think with it was a lot of work, it was a lot of luck. I ended up hitting the vast majority of things that were on my mental vision board, with the animal groups, with the I used to actually hand make a lot of toys when I was a kid. So being able to design them now, it's like pretty much it's like succession of initial where things started. Yeah.
Yeah, like your initial interests, and it's like I have you ever heard this thing where it's like you got to do everything for your 7-year-old self, like for that version of you that's a kid, like how would they want you to do stuff now, if they only saw the kinds of opportunities like from if you were a 7-year-old kid looking at yourself now, and you back when you were making your own toys and now you're making professional toys, it's like how happy would you be to see that?
I think a 7-year-old me would be like, oh, this is nice, but I thought you were gonna be an astronomer. It's like, oh, that's nice though. Like, oh well, how about you? It's like what does your 7-year-old self say? It's like mine would be, yeah, like
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd probably, yeah, maybe at 7 that's a little too young, but maybe like at 8 or 10, I'd be pretty excited because it's like I was really into drawing, writing, and even like just putting on skits, doing shows, like kind of with my friends, making videos. And now this is kind of, just make content, draw, graphic design, create ideas. Like it's almost kind of the same stuff I was doing when I was a kid. And it's like when you do something like that, it's like I remember like in college, I'd be going around to like stores in downtown Boston, like just asking if I could make a free ad, like just to make it, like just to, be able to cook something up and, design it and get it printed and to be able to see it there. And like it didn't really make a lot of sense to other people. Like people would just be like, well, why do you want to do that for free? Like, why do you want to just go and design like a poster? Like, who cares? Like, why? And then it's like, I feel like that's always how it is with stuff that's like doesn't have a blueprint, kind of like if it's not something where you could just, you go get an internship, you go get a job, then you go work there. Like it's kind of you feel that level of uncertainty, but it's like if you don't do it, you just feel like you always could try. Like you always feel like you missed out on it. So it's like I feel like if there's something that you want to try that doesn't seem logical, or it almost seems like, hey, this isn't, the right path and stuff like that, always if you really enjoy it, and I think looking back at your childhood self, it's like if you would do it as a kid, like if you had this opportunity and you were a kid right now, would you do it? And if yeah, then probably you should just go for it. Because I feel like as you get older, you get all these kind of like rules put on top of you, like you should only do this if it gives you a reward, or don't waste your time doing things that, aren't exactly benefiting you. So it's like, but like when you're a kid, maybe you'll end up spending like 5 hours just designing something just because it's fun. And it's like there's no guaranteed, result for it. But it's kind of a weird balance, I feel like.
It's like as a kid, just those moments of self-discovery and having the opportunity to figure out what we like and who we are. That's so important. And even as an adult, I think that even as adults, we should carry a little bit of that into our lives because I don't think everyone feels like we've 100% completely discovered ourselves by the time we achieve adulthood. There's always that kind of self-discovery, and I'd say when we can make some time, do like try those little hobbies, try something out, even if it wasn't intended to definitively get something in return, and see how it because I think what you get in return is just figuring something out for yourself that you can use in the long run, and how many opportunities that can lead to, you know. It's I think one thing I tend to do, which is kind of odd, is I tend to just offer random people things like um I asked you and I asked more than a dozen people, including Alan from Boston AI, do you want to go to Egypt? No. What do you want from Egypt? It's like, and and through that specific journey, I ended up discovering some really nice products from the trip where it's like I'm so glad I left without them. I did not leave without them, and I think I'm going to be using them for some stuff moving forward. Staying tuned. Yeah.
Yeah, like you got to take new opportunities, and like you said, I think it's so important to try those like little hobbies just to even if you find out like, hey, I don't like this, that already is super valuable because like sometimes even knowing what you don't like is I think like college is a good time to learn that, is like you kind of get to see all these different activities and clubs and stuff like that, and I think it's good because you kind of see like, oh, I don't really like that, or you get exposed to all these hobbies and habits. But it's like, yeah, there's some things like where I'm looking back at it where I'm like, I'm just glad I got to even experience it. Like even like taking like piano lessons, for example. Like I don't think I use those skills that much. Like I'm not playing piano on a daily basis. But then it's like when I'm listening to like a song or something for a video, or if I'm editing and there's some music in it, like I can kind of pick up on some of the notes or the beats, and like I'm like, I remember that from childhood, and I'm like, I can kind of tell which kind of melodies I like and which I don't. So it's like it helps just to try things out and like just to see what the experience is like.
Absolutely. Either you find something you like or you learn something you don't, and that can help with a whole bunch of decisions.
Yeah, and it's like every time you're you're going to be changing like throughout life. So it's like your interests might change, but that's why it's like as you're getting older, you kind of have to keep trying those new things because it's like you don't want to get too rooted into the things you've learned as a kid also, because sometimes you don't get to try everything you've wanted to try. So it's like you can't just give up on that kind of experimentation phase of like trying new things.
Like Miss Frizzle once said, get messy and make mistakes.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, it's it's interesting how things work out and like how you can kind of I've heard Steve Jobs say this. I feel like maybe probably this speech has been reused like 100 times, but like when you're looking back, it's easy to connect the dots. Like when you're looking back at your life, it's easy to pick up on things where you're like, oh, I do this now. I remember when I was a kid, I was interested in that, you know? But in the moment when you're looking at the future, it's hard to pick up on that. You know, when you're a kid, you're not like, oh, I'll probably end up doing this 10 years from now.
Yeah, it's like looking at that weird kid in the corner. It's like, why is she sculpting a weird anatomical dog skull? It's like, yeah, it's
It
like thinking back the weird things we were doing. It's like, we have to do.
it's also important to be weird. I feel like that's a whole nother topic, but I really resonate with this critic who said, I don't trust normal people. If you're 100% normal and you fit in 100% and you're just like an average person, the only thing you are is you're a liar because you're lying to people around you and you're lying to yourself.
It's like, what are you hiding? How bad is it?
Exactly. If you're not weird, I just don't trust, like, you gotta be a little bit weird. And it's like, you can't be too full of yourself that you think you're not even human enough to let some weirdness show. Like, it's like I know people that are just perfectly normal and they think that it's like good, but it's like, I'm like, that's not unique or there's nothing there. It's like, I'd rather know someone who's really annoying and I really don't like them, but at least they're themselves, you know?
Yeah, you gotta just be naturally you. You don't bottle it up because when you're talking about that, I started having flashbacks of someone. Okay, so this dude was like the textbook perfect movie class president. He would like give speeches in the cafeteria and stuff, just like well-rounded, not a hair out of place. You know what he would do? In math class, that fool sat behind me. He tried to bite me. It's like, just like when no one was looking, he just tried to bite me out of nowhere. It's like, no, dude, you don't get it. You don't get it. The stress, it comes out somehow. You don't want it to come out.
You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be in the back of a class biting people. That's just not who you want to be. It doesn't look good.
No, it's where was that coming from? I hope, you know, I hope he's become more relaxed these days, wherever he is, that maybe he realized he can just be himself. Hopefully not a biter.
You're not you when you're hungry. That would be a great Snickers commercial right there.
Oh, jeez.
But
Oh,
that's such a perfect lesson right there. Like, yeah, it's like yeah, no one is perfectly normal. Like it's like that. Yeah, and it's like I'm sure a lot of people probably, like kind of feel bad when they're younger if they're not perfectly normal. You know what I mean? Or like average or, fit in with everything. Because I feel like I always felt a little bad, like, if I felt weird or a little out of place or if I felt like I wasn't fitting in. But now it's like looking back at it, I'm like, wow, fitting in was just kind of like being no one. Like fitting in is just having no personality. And it's like, I don't know if that's really something that people should want to be. Like, why would you want to fit in if fitting in is just, you're kind of dissolving almost. You're like standing out is how you be real. Like, then you're there and people will at least remember you. So it's like, I don't know.
yeah, you got this one life. You just gotta like be in touch with yourself. Find who you can be in this world that is, good for you and not harmful for other people and just grow into that person instead of stuffing it all up until you're just not you.
Yeah. Until you just end up biting someone one day.
Oh, jeez. Oh, gosh. I hope he's not watching this.
Yeah, that's yeah, especially if they're still in the biting phase. Like,
I won't say your name, but you gotta stop.
yeah, for real, because it is. Yeah, and it's like, you know what? It's like if that's who you really are and you just enjoy biting people, then just say it. Just
You got,
lean into it.
you gotta tell people. You gotta find someone who is consenting. I don't want to get bit.
Yeah. Maybe there's someone out there who's just dying for someone to bite them, and you are just you're missing out on it. You're missing out on that. And it's like however weird you are, just embrace it. But
Put it out there, but don't just don't bite anyone.
yeah, it's like with people in like the public eye, and also I feel like just that point gets proven every day. Like it's like people who have like no bad stories about them, who have like the perfect PR team. It's like it almost makes me be like, oh, you're definitely doing something bad. But it's like those celebrities that are just kind of like always getting caught doing something stupid, or they're always just getting like roasted by the media. I'm kind of like, at least I know like, okay, that's who they are.
This reminds me, like, I think Jay Leno got injured again.
Oh, really?
Again, I feel bad for that guy, but he constantly is getting into something self-inflicted, just like accident after. He's okay though. He went and talked at the comedy thing. I just, yeah.
Was it a car accident or?
I don't know. What? Let me just check what happened. What happened to Jay Leno this time? Because I think one time it was a burn, but what happened this time? Oh, 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 poor guy. Okay, so he got into a really bad. Poor guy fell down a hill.
Oh,
Oh, and he just went to the show with an eye patch. He fine though. He okay. My,
oof,
my dad once fell down a hill and got had to rescue him. It's not fun.
ooh. Yeah, that sounds intense. Hill does not sound fun.
But hey, I mean, when the imperfection shows, it's like that's you. That's you right there. And it's okay. It's
Yeah, you gotta live with it.
okay.
And I guess speaking of celebrities and perfect images and not perfect images, I feel like right now would be a good time to do the you know, best business partner game.
All right, here we go. I've got it opened up.
Okay, awesome. Let me just share my screen as well. Um, Basically we can take turns. Like if you want, you can go first and then I'll say mine after. For each slide, we'll just kind of pick one that, or if you want, I can go first. Just if you want me to show, like, kind of just get the ball rolling, up to you. Whichever one
I
of
could
us.
I could go either way. Let's see.
And yeah, just kind of pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Just pick one business partner to launch a startup with. Who would you rather do business with?
Oh yeah. You're on the first slide?
Yep,
Yeah.
just
Okay.
just went to
Oh.
the first one.
Okay. Oh, of these three, I gotta go with Mark Cuban. Hmm. I gotta go with
Okay,
Mark Cuban.
okay. He's obviously the more business savvy out of these three, but that's also kind of why it balances out because he's also the guy who is most likely the smartest one in business. So it's like, if you're starting a business with him, there's potentially you also could get outsmarted and outplayed, like he's a cunning business guy.
Hmm.
So it's like there's some risks here.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess so, but I feel like out of the three, I might come out of it better off with Mark. Like if I
Hmm.
come out of if I come out of all of them burned, uh, hmm, it's probably gonna be best with him. It's probably gonna be like uh, like uh, flame grilled or something.
Mm.
It's morning. How about you?
All right. I think
Hello?
probably.
Oh, I'm having.
Oh, I think it froze up for a second there. Hello?
Oh yeah. Now, can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, I can hear you.
Hello?
Can you hear
Hello?
me? Can you hear
Oh
me?
yeah, that's good. That's good. Yep, yep. I can hear you now. Yep.
Yeah, my thing just kind of was glitching. Let me just turn my camera off and on really quick. Is it better at all by any chance?
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. So which one would you choose?
My thing's just kind of glitching a little bit. Cameras are frozen, but can, you can hear me well?
I think it's a little better.
Uh,
Okay.
hey,
Oh, there we go. Is it working?
yeah, yeah. Now it's good. Yeah,
Okay.
sorry about
Okay.
that. I don't know. Mine's kind of
That's,
just couldn't
it's
see
all
anything.
good.
Yeah, let's just. Should we maybe redo that first slide?
Oh yeah. Okay. First slide. First slide.
Yeah, just in case if it didn't catch that.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Let's see. These three, I'd probably go with Mark Cuban because well, he just seems most adept at it, and I guess if we're thinking about if he's smart, he might in case someone will get burned. Well, like in case you get burned with any three of these, I'd rather be burned by Mark Cuban. You know?
True,
Yeah.
true. Yeah, that's a good point. That's kind of the thought process for me is like, I don't know if I just go into business with someone who's probably going to be a little bit smarter than me at it, but it's also like you don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. You probably want smarter people around you. But I think I'd go with Johnny Depp just because I feel like he'd be a good influencer to promote like any product. Like I just think if you start a business and Johnny Depp's the face of it, it will probably do okay.
Mhm. Yep. Oh, and one thing I got to comment. Okay, well, what was Seth Rogen's? But I forget names so easily. For some reason. Okay, remember Pineapple Express? Who was Seth Rogen's good friend?
Yeah, Franco, James Franco.
Jane Franco, yeah. Okay, so one of my teachers in RISD had Franco in the winter session. And
Oh wow.
apparently Franco does this thing where he's not trying to interrupt the class, but he's just kind of leaned over listening and he does this feel like, huh. He does that really loudly, very frequently. Huh.
Oh,
And it's just and that's all he remembers about him and told us about. So
that kind of sounds like a celebrity move. Is like trying to get
yeah.
attention even when you're like a student. Like you're not
Yeah.
supposed to be the center of attention. You're just like
Yeah.
coughing randomly so everyone looks at you.
Yep, just subconsciously. Ah!
It's also like I feel like these like celebrities are kind of like eccentric characters will like make random noises. Like or like maybe it's like older people, but they'll just kind of like be sitting and be like a grunt or something. Like
Mhm.
in general, maybe it's older
Yeah.
people, but
Mhm. I think it's very individual. I'll tell you, somebody I knew had Daniel Day-Lewis come to some kind of like tour of the campus as well and said, "Oh, he was the most polite and just like well-demeanored guy."
mm,
Yeah.
okay, okay, that's good. Yeah, but Franco being a little bit of a distraction here.
It's just like it's kind of like odd. I don't know.
It's kind of surprising, honestly, but hey. All right, this next one, a little bit more of a hard choice, just because I feel like there's, Kevin O'Leary, also business guy. That's Sarah Blakely. She founded Spanx, and that's Jay-Z in the middle. Kind of just a rapper, celebrity, so not as much in the business world, but
Mm. I don't know. I'll go with Spanx Lady.
okay, okay, good choice. She is a very successful, probably the most successful business person out of those three.
Mm. Yeah. How about you?
I think. See, I don't want to go for another just, celebrity that is going to be like the face of the product. So I'll go with Kevin O'Leary. But I feel like he's also just going to screw me and I'm going to lose all my money.
Yeah. So somehow he's more likely to do with the mark, I feel.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Next time I'll also switch it up. I think I should probably put more of like the same category people in one thing, like Kevin O'Leary, Mark Cuban, and then maybe like another Shark Tank person, and then like, three different rappers. I think that'll be good for next time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. With Kendrick next to Drake.
Right. Okay. Okay. I think actually the next one,
Oh,
if we switch, speak of the devil, if I say, Drake, Snoop Dogg, and Joe Rogan. This one I think is actually good because they're all kind of in the celebrity, like entertainer space. So it's kind of a hard choice.
I gotta go with Snoop, it's like I have a little bit of daddy every day, and it's like,
You like the style, you like the vibe.
yeah, I like a little bit of, yeah, a little bit of that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Snoop. Yeah, that's a good choice. I think this one, just honestly, because of the recent controversies with Drake, I think and Joe Rogan seems like
Yeah.
probably a sharper business person. Um, Probably a better business partner. I'd go with Joe Rogan on this one.
Mhm.
It's, okay, yeah, this next one is a little more tech CEO based, but all good for business, all good options. So it's like, I don't know.
Okay. Okay, so this one, because they're all good at business, I'm gonna go off something kind of arbitrary, unrelated to business.
Yeah, yeah, you can always do that
Okay.
too.
Okay, so this Jensen guy, I don't know about him. So I don't know what kind of weird stuff he's got going on in the background. But Bill and Jeff, I know a little bit. I think Jeff texted his current wife something about, it's like, I love you, my alive girl, or something. It's just like, alive girl? What? Huh?
As opposed to what, I guess.
It's like, what the?
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Okay. That's interesting.
It's not a big deal, but it's like, it gives you pause.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gives you a little bit of the creeps.
Yeah. It's like, no, they're all good across the board, but I just don't know Jensen, and I don't want to know.
Hmm. Okay. And not really liking Bezos.
It's like, no, it's not that I really dislike him. It's just I saw that text and I got really freaked.
Can't put it out of the mind. Just
Can't
can't
put
look at
it
the.
like what, my alive girl. It's like, what you got with Alexa?
Oh, right. Oh, I didn't even think about that. So I guess he's got a lot of not alive girls in his circle.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but oh well.
Wow. So his wife now has to even consider so he's now just going to be coming home and she's going to be like, "Who are you talking to, huh, Alexa?" Now she's got to watch out for all the non-alive girls that he's surrounded by. Like, what is this?
Oh God. married to his one true beloved alive wife. Mm-mm.
It definitely doesn't sound great. Definitely doesn't sound very human.
Yeah. I don't know. How about you? I'm not even gonna, I'm not even gonna say what I know about Bill. Just pick one.
Yeah, I don't know. Out of these three, see, I actually kind of like Jensen Huang. Like, I kind of like his style. I don't know. Like you said, I don't know much about him just because I feel like he's kind of come into the news and media and like public space recently. Like, I don't know if that's just I've seen him only recently, but like I feel like I haven't been aware of him for as long as like Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos. But also to me, Jeff Bezos is like I know there's a lot of talk about both of them, and like it's more about Bill that he's kind of like a little supervillain. But for some reason, Jeff Bezos gives me more of that feeling. And I always like maybe it's a little bit just rebellious and like personal preference, but I always feel like if everyone's saying that one person is really good and the other's really bad, it's usually the other way around. So I actually think I'm gonna go with Bill Gates, and I think he'd actually be probably a superpower. I mean, like Bezos, I just think is too new in the game where I think Bill Gates actually there's a chance he'd be a good business partner. Bezos, I feel like he's all about himself right now.
Yeah, yeah. Bezos is he's I don't he's yeah, something's going on there. He's doing good for himself, but when it comes to a partnership, it's like I feel like maybe he's not looking for that as much as Bill might be.
Yeah, and I know Bill Gates is probably also like, all about his own success and stuff. That's life, but something about his character, maybe I don't know, like maybe it's the fact that also when he first made Microsoft, like I remember seeing his mugshot of him getting pulled over in his Porsche, like right after building Microsoft. And he like tried to bribe the cops with like a bunch of cash, basically. And just something about his style, like it's more human to me because although that is such a bad thing to do, like you just don't hear that much about Bezos's like mistakes. Whereas like at least with Bill Gates, I'm kind of like that's a little bit of a human thing to do. Like you get a bunch of money, you're just going crazy and just kind of speeding. Like he just has that like it's like arrogance, but to me it's also like a little bit of like, yeah, that's a person experiencing this. Like that's a guy who's a teenager who just, had this wild success, but Bezos kind of not like he doesn't care, but it almost seems like, yeah, I don't know. It almost seems like he's not as amazed by what he's done. Whereas like Bill Gates is kind of full of himself, and I kind of am like, at least that's a human thing to do. I kind of like I see his personality a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah, it's yeah, with Jeff, it's more about, the fundamentals of the business and the supply chain and getting things to work and done and grow exponentially. I guess at least with Bill, there is still maybe it does feel like maybe there's a bit more of the passion for the technology and for the innovation in of itself. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, and it's like things like that like his like the fact that he was celebrating his accomplishment with Microsoft by, of course it's immature to go and get a sports car when you're like a teenager, but it's like the fact that he was celebrating it and was so like excited about what he had done, it kind of gives him that humanistic like, like it's almost humbling. It's like he couldn't believe what he did. With Bezos, it's like very calculated, very like we have to make sure we get the most out of everyone working here, out of everyone around me. Like it's all about efficiency. And
Mhm.
like Bill Gates and like I think it was this guy he appointed as the CEO of Microsoft, um, who would do these like they did like this crazy music video where they were just like kind of just goofing off to celebrate like it was some anniversary of Microsoft and like it was pretty cringy, don't get me wrong. Like most people saw through it and were like, this is like a couple billionaires like pretending to be having fun to like get us to buy more of their stuff. But it's like, I don't know. It's like at least he's trying to have some fun with it, and just kind of be normal. But I don't know. Yeah, but I'd have to go with Bill Gates on this one.
Mhm. Yep, yep. I mean, at least he shows up on some of the stuff. Like Jeff would. I don't think he would never show up on an Amazon commercial. He's hired people for it. He got for Prime Day. Remember, he got Megan the Stallion to do a bunch of those. It's like he's not gonna show up on them. No, 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 no. He's just like supply chain, alive girl, supply chain.
Right, exactly. And it's like it's just too unrelatable for me. I don't know. Bill Gates now, I'm sure, is pretty unrelatable, but it's like at least maybe it's because I saw those periods of time when he was just starting out. Like there's footage of it. It's just like there's commercials that he'd done. It's like it feels like I know more about the dude.
Mhm.
But this last one, last but not least, but is the probably the hardest because they all, just to be honest, they all kind of suck.
Oh boy. This is the farmer, bro.
Yeah, yeah. We've got probably the three worst business partners to ever exist in the history of the world.
Oh boy. Oh no. Oh no. Pick your poison. Oh boy. Oh,
Exactly.
which level of hell shall we descend to?
Exactly. And there's a couple different ways to look at it. Like you could look at it like who do you think is going to be the most trustworthy? Who do you think is going to make the most money? Who do you think is going to be the most, easygoing to get along with? Like there's so many, it's all personal preference, but it's like what do you value, I guess.
Oh gosh. Oh, it's if okay, I have one to pick, but it's like I also have a story to go along with that, but I don't know if I should tell it because it had to do with Anna Delvey.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. But it's unrelated to me, but I think I would pick Billy McFarland because it's just out of all the three, it's like his crime was just like a disastrous festival. It's
Hmm.
like the others, I think they did more long-term damage, Yeah.
Yeah, he actually tried.
Yeah, I'll go with Billy. It's the lesser of evils. How about you?
I do think that's probably the best choice, but just because I don't want to choose the same one, I'll choose someone else. But I do agree with that. I think that is definitely the best choice because his is more like a really terrible accident where it's like he genuinely was trying to make a cool festival. It's almost worse that he was actually trying because it did so badly. Whereas like these guys were trying to do something bad and like he was trying to do something good, but it still did really bad. So it's like there's something to it where it's like, yeah, that might be even sadder, but it's like he seems like the best guy out of all of them. Like, he's not actually trying to hurt people. He was just trying to make a cool festival. Like, it's probably not the most like, sophisticated goal in the world is like to make a festival with tents in the Bahamas. Like, he's probably maybe not the smartest out of those three, but at least the most earnest. Like, it's an idea. It's his, he did it. He tried. But if we're going with someone else, like Bernie Madoff and Martin Shkreli is the other two options, Madoff seems like he's got too much skills. Like Madoff seems like it's a guaranteed swindle. If you go into business with him, my money's gone. The second I give it to him, it's gone. He's already bought something with it. Martin Shkreli, I would have to go with as the less of those two. Seems like he's probably got some skills and maybe has a little bit of, like he's still young, whereas like maybe he has some incentive to start something real, like to make some money authentically. And I'm not too informed. Like I don't know if they took all his money that he made with that, but I'm assuming if he was guilty and went to jail, like he probably got fined or like I don't know how much they took from him in terms of what he made, but it's like I feel like there's a higher chance he has some kind of motivation to maybe like do another venture that like isn't illegal, maybe like that doesn't end up costing him a bunch of money and putting him in jail. Like maybe he has some vengeance to like make a comeback or make something good.
Whatever happened to that record he has?
No, oh, the Wu-Tang.
Yeah, the Wu-Tang record.
That I actually heard in like hip hop news. I think the government bought it,
Oh, yes, sure. Well, they must release it. They must release it.
and I think they did an auction of it.
Ooh, who
Yeah.
bought it?
So I think it was just I guess resold. Like the government seized it, I guess kind of same way they seize like, like a house and then put it on the market. I think they just had an auction. Someone else got it.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I
okay,
think
go
the
them.
Wu-Tang Clan was like a little bit upset because I guess at the auction from the government, it got sold like for less than they had sold it to Martin Shkreli. So technically, like the price has gone down now because
Oh,
it's like now if the current owner sells it, he's going to probably end up selling it for even less. So it's just going to go down and down.
oh,
So
it's unfortunate.
it's unfortunate for them, yeah, and but it's also like they agreed to take the money and like from Shkreli when they didn't know really if it's good money or not, so they still took it. They made that deal, but it's definitely interesting because it's like when he bought it, I remember this was a big deal in the music industry. He played it on a live stream immediately for everyone,
Oh,
so you can
oh,
go listen to it. Just
oh.
Yeah, he leaked it like immediately. Like they sold it to him under the so it caused a lot of drama because like the Wu-Tang Clan was like, we're selling this to you, but you are not allowed to like share this with anyone. Like this is your possession, but you can't just post it. And then he was like, okay. And then immediately, like I remember in the story, it said like immediately after returning home, he went on a live stream and starts playing the whole album to the world. So like little antics like that make me be like, okay, maybe he is clearly an A word for doing the drugs thing and like hiking the price. But then he just goes and shares this whole album with the world. Like there's something to it where I'm like, I can't fully understand what this guy's about.
It's like well, in on there's something called an alignment chart. You know about the alignment chart?
No.
It's like there's nine quadrants. The first row, like it's like good, neutral, evil, but then from one side to another, it's like a lawful, like neutral, and then chaotic. I feel like he's chaotic something, you know?
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
he's chaotic something. Not good, something.
Yeah, it's like it could be it just maybe he's chaotic both ways. Like sometimes for doing bad stuff, sometimes just for fun. Like just chaos in
Chaotic
and of
neutral.
itself.
Chaotic neutral, maybe.
Yeah, because it's like I like no one there was no explanation for it. It's like who in the world buys a $2 million album that's never been heard before just to go and play it to everyone the minute
Yeah.
he buys it? It's like the whole point of having it is kind of like that you can say, hey, no one else has listened to this, and I have. But then he just buys it for the record price and just shares it. So the whole value just disappears immediately because everyone can listen to it. And
There's
they
no
were
like
really pissed about that. The Wu-Tang Clan.
I don't know. It's like when there's no rhyme or reason, I feel like yeah, that does fit. It does fit.
Yeah. And it makes it almost like it's like someone buying it to make money off of it is like what you would expect. Like we'd expect someone like Martin Shkreli to buy a never before heard album and then keep it to themselves and like, or maybe try to like get money out of it and sell it or something like that, like for a profit. But to give it away for free is just not, it's like the least expected thing from someone like this, from like so he was so capitalist that like even America had to shut it down. Like he hiked that price up so much that even the country of capitalism had to be like, we're going to slow this down a little bit. Like you're making too much profit off of this. And then yeah, he just gives it for free. So that's why I think I would have to go with Shkreli because it's like he's got some edge to it, and you never know. Maybe he would just do something super nice, but maybe it'd be super evil. So, but with Madoff, it's like guaranteed.
Yeah, it's like the Uno wild card or something. I haven't played Uno in a while, can't remember, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take the wild card on this one, and it's a little bit more interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, at least it'll be a fun story.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of fun stories, I don't know, maybe off the record later I'll tell you about the Anna Delvey one.
yeah. Is was that related to Martin Shkreli? Because I feel like
Uh I think they met at some point and also the Fire Festival guy, but I'll tell you how I am va like not connected to them at all, but so one time somebody invited me in Manhattan to an art gallery show nearby. Didn't tell me what it was about. I don't know if I told you this story. Did I tell you?
maybe I was, but I feel like well, I don't know if we're recording, but I feel like maybe you were telling me something more related to like the mayor, or it was something
Oh yeah.
someone else. I don't think it
Yeah,
was
I
Anna
totally
Delvey.
no, no, no. Yeah, it was a bunch of people. It was a wild time in Manhattan. But it turns out the gallery showing was some kind of Anna Delvey fundraiser while she was in jail and around the time that the Netflix series came out. And
Oh,
it was like, oh my, oh no. And it's like there are people she knew here. Oh, this is like it's like, why have I gotten myself into this time again? And afterwards, let's just say this person who invited me introduced me to a woman, seemed really cool, down to earth, a lot of tattoos. Uh, Informed me later that apparent this is what he told me. He told me she was her roommate in Rikers or something.
oh wow. Okay.
We were hanging out for a while.
Oh wow. Okay.
I don't know if that's true, you know, but
That's awesome. That's awesome if you were. I mean, hey, I mean, you can learn something new and interesting from anybody. I mean, I'm sure she's got a lot of stories.
man, I got a lot of stories.
Yeah, that's awesome. You never know. It's a small world, eh?
Eh, well, if you ever want to get into the Manhattan Underground, the crime scene, I was just a hair's length away from it, so
Definitely not get into it, but learn about it would be awesome. Like
yeah,
I feel like observing is better.
yeah, yeah. If you tag along one day, you'll see.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. That'd be awesome. I like meeting people from all walks of life, you know? The crazier the backstory, the better of a time.
Do you really want that, I guess? You don't want to hear you don't want to hear some of the stuff. Well,
I definitely do. I can stop recording also
okay,
if you
okay,
want. Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
here we
yeah.
go. Here we go. Okay.
Yeah, you want to, should we do a
Okay.
quick outro maybe? Just
Okay, yeah,
we'll
yeah.
just
Yeah,
say
sounds good. Sounds good. Okay,
yeah.
sounds good. Don't post about the Anna Delvey thing though.
No, no, no. I'll cut it after the game. So I'll just start
Okay.
talking as if we just finished up the game basically.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good.
But yeah, anyways, this I think I'll go with Martin Shkreli on that last one. This is kind of the end of the stream. I mean, we've gone over some recent news, gone over a little bit of business tips, a little bit of our own personal experience, shared some of our stories, talked about some kind of business mindsets, talked about a little bit about a book that's good for people starting in business, and just talked a little bit about entertainment, the business world, tech world. Some celebrities, actors who were involved here in the end in this game, picking the best business partner. But we hope you guys enjoyed. We'll be posting this on if you're watching, you're probably watching either on YouTube or on LinkedIn. We'll be sharing clips from this as well and some blogs with some of the key takeaways. So stay tuned for those. And we hope everyone has a great week and we hope you guys enjoyed.
Bye, everyone. See you next time.